Police and You on this Thursday morning. ASP Russell joins me live on set. We thank him as always for the time and the commitment. I know there's lots of pace. I know lots going on with you, and from what we understand, we had a busy evening, and I'm sure we will get some details via the news cycle with some of the developments from the Western Division. But I want to touch on one of the top stories. It's been dominating the news cycle recently, and we're talking sick leave concerns. I want to start there before we get into our road safety tips. Again, good morning to you. Officer, great to have you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here. Pleasant good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, on behalf of the Commissioner, the Deputy Commissioners, 1st and 2nd Division of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service.
Is there cause for concern with this sick leave discussion that's now in the public domain?
Cause for concern, I would want to really be careful how I disseminate the information. What we are looking at is not sick leave per se, but the abuse of the sick leave. You know, some persons may be really sick. They might be, you know, genuinely sick. May have suffered an injury on a job. In time, they would be reclassified to injury leave. Some of them may have had to undergo a medical surgery. Some may have even mental illness, because we cannot put aside mental illness, because we understand the reality of mental illness, especially in today's world. But there are persons who, for instance, they may be on extended sick leave, but then you're seeing them doing everything, or you're seeing them doing an odd job or a private duty or something like that. Some persons may, then they have those who every holiday or long weekend, they're sick. You know, those are the things we want to guard against, you know, when we talk about the sick leave. So we have no problem with somebody being genuinely sick, but it's the abuse of the sick leave thereof.
And I'm seeing the commissioner, acting commissioner, making the suggestion, what he's saying, that there would be disciplinary action. If so, how would this, you know, transpire, and what part of the police service apparatus will enforce that kind of disciplinary action?
Well, we have the Police Complaints Division, but we could also look at the Professional Standards Bureau. There's an offense called malingering, which is listed in our departmental orders in our 14 of 2008. The DO, that is related to police complaints, Police Service Regulation 2007, by which we are governed by as it pertains to offenses against the officers. So, you know, malingering is like you tender sick leave, and you tender sick leave, but you're working somewhere else. You're doing a private hustle, let's say, by a grocery.
A moonlighting.
A moonlighting, for want of a better word. And it may be brought on by some person's personal financial situation.
Remember, you get paid. Eating two food, you're collecting your police salary.
Sometimes persons are in a situation where they would have mismanaged their funds, and they want the money now, for want of a better word. So it might be easier for them to go and stand in a grocery or a Chinese store or some retail outlet and do that moonlighting, because they will receive money in their hands at the end of the day, as opposed to wait on their monthly salaries. These are the things we are definitely cracking down on, and these are the things that will result in disciplinary action and even one dismissal.
Yeah, understood. Really quick, before we transition into the road safety tips, up to yesterday I was talking to one of your colleagues on the next side. Well, you know, you're all brothers, obviously. On the fire service side, about vacation time, and I know that it's a similar structure with police. I've heard of officers 6 months, 7 months, 8 months leave, to the point where I've had one brethren of mine took a trip to the US and he was working Uber outside. You know, I mean, that's the kind of vacation he had, long vacation. How does it even come to that? How it gets to that particular place?
I'm happy, and I'm happy you asked that question, and I want you all to recognize the sacrifices of the police officer. You know why it come to that? When you all party, when you all having fun, we have to work. So a lot of the times our leave, our vacation leave, it is restricted, or there's a condition. So for Christmas time, there's a restriction on leave. For Carnival, there's a restriction on leave. For election, there's a restriction of leave. For SOE, there's a restriction of leave. All of those you would have experienced within the last 6 to 7 months or so. So you would find, you know, those are the times when we really need all hands on deck. So like now, you know, we would free up things in for want of a better word, but we have to manage how persons take leave as well. Because we only allow a certain percentage of the police service to be on leave at the same time. Because we cannot send everybody on leave on the same time. So if we have to tell you, we may ask you to reapply or something, and that is how the leave build up.
Is there reintegration when you come back from such an extended leave? Because I would assume part of the job might be, I mean, you're so long away from the job, you might, I mean, I wouldn't say go forget the work, but clearly your logins, all these are different things that you will clearly have to renew.
Well, you don't really forget the job, eh? You don't really forget the job. I mean, it would take you a little time to really reacquaint yourself. But remember, we're talking road safety this morning. I know the sick leave thing, you know?
Yeah, of course.
We're talking road safety.
Because I wanted to kind of really just kind of get a little perspective on that, because I know it's one where you hear of the extended leave, but I'm happy you're able to now explain why it comes to that particular kind of time frame. So road safety now, we're looking at rainy season, it's here.
Yes.
And unfortunately, some folks are still doing the most. People taking chances. I'm seeing recently there was a big operation on the bus route between yourself and licensing officers. Walk us through what's the plan of action for the weeks and months ahead.
Well, first thing I want to say, I want the public to be aware. I rode safe because safety begins with me. I rode safe because safety begins with me. That is our slogan for our road safety campaign. And you know, the rainy season has hit us. There's no denying that. So we want to ensure that these drivers take that time for care and maintenance of the vehicle. Make sure your tires are very important when it comes to the rainy season. Wipers. Recently I saw a vehicle in Arima, and his tires were smooth to the point where the thread was actually showing. How much traction you could get when the rain starts to fall, and you may leave them in sunshine, but it's still a danger because you have no idea when the rain is going to fall. Make sure your wipers are functioning properly. Make sure your lights are functioning properly. Make sure your vehicle on the whole is functioning properly. When the rain starts to fall, slow down, because speeding is a big contributor to accidents, whether it's wet or dry.
Let me ask Officer Russell, you all ease up on that front tint. I've seen people with the dark, up to last night on the avenue, man in aqua, tint G5 down. I want to know how this man even seeing in the night, more so if it's in the night and rain is falling. I mean, what's happening with that? That's what, the tint free up?
No, the tint has not been freed up. The tint has not been freed up. We are still enforcing that, for want of a better word, but maybe he hasn't been caught as yet, and I know no exemption would give you the authority to tint the entire front windscreen. So we know that person is committing an offense. But they say plenty days for the thief and 1 day for police. So we will catch up with them, and as you said, licensed officers who are out there with us, and we will continue to see these exercises. And guess what? It's a month-end long weekend.
Yeah.
So you know.
And concert on this weekend too.
And concert on. So we have a lot of, so people have to brace and be careful because we out there.
So you're gonna step up the exercise this weekend?
Of course. This is what we do. We want to make sure you all party safe. We want to discourage the drinking as well, Trinidad and Tobago, that drinking and driving. When the rain starts to fall, give yourself extra distance to stop. If your vehicle, pick up a skid, steer into the skid. Don't stamp on the brakes. You know, there are other safety tips people could go on, they could Google it, they could go on YouTube and really see what is required of them as drivers when the rain starts to fall. And not only you, but your children will be drivers as well, your relatives, the younger ones especially. You know, recently we would have lost a colleague. Condolences to him, to his family. You know, it's sad. We want to know that people expect you to come home. I rode safe. Safety begins with me.
Yeah, very important campaign. In terms of cars that are not roadworthy, I mean, obviously we're not a mechanic, so the engine might be running, but the car itself, I mean, if black smoke coming out the muffler, clearly something is wrong. We're seeing some of the tail lights mash up. I mean, some cars really. And again, you know, everybody economic scenario is different, so I'm not fighting nobody down, but clearly some cars, some vans especially, are not roadworthy. What's the plan of action for that?
Well, again, once you know, we will continue our enforcement, and I will tell you this too. Trinidad and Tobago have a lot to take blame for too, because your friends might be the ones who might flick the lights and see the police down there, so the person will turn back when there's a roadblock. So we have roving roadblocks. But after 5 minutes, you see somebody put it up on the social media, or they're outside or you see somebody flickering lights, which stops us and hinders us from really doing our enforcement the way we would like. But let me just throw something out to Trinidad and Tobago. What if the person that you flick the lights for and give that heads up was somebody who just robbed your family, or somebody who haven't slowed down and passed the roadblock, continues to speed and gets in an accident and injure one of your relatives? How would you feel then? You know, we have to start to take responsibility for the things that we do on a daily basis. Because we think we're doing a good thing. You will block outside the police outside. We are there to make sure that you are safe and that the persons around you are also safe, to protect and serve with pride.
Yeah, to protect and serve with pride. ASP Russell, as always, a very important conversation. Police and you, road safety, of course, we heard firsthand the concerns for the vacation, but more so the sick leave scenario, and indeed the top brass, they're looking at it, and there will be action forthcoming if anybody tries to abuse the system.
Definitely.
Yeah.
The abuse is what we are concerned about.
Of course, you know, naturally, could understand. Yes, P, all the best, man. Be safe.
Hey, thank you, Trinidad. Be safe. Have a great weekend. Take care of yourself.
Let's take that pause. We get ready for the 7 a.m. news update. Much more on the other side.